Joining me live now to discuss some of today's top stories is Nationals MP for Riverina, Michael McCormack. Michael, I want to get you first on foreign matters and the Prime Minister's China trip. We've heard President Xi Jinping give no assurance Australia would be warned of future Chinese drills in the Tasman Sea. Is this good enough?
No, it's not. And the People's Liberation Army should not be doing these live firing without at least telling Australia and giving plenty of advance warning. And I appreciate that they'll be off the coast now, monitoring and supervising Operation Talisman Sabre. The fact that this government has outsourced our national security to a pilot from Virgin Australia who rang the alarm on the live firing exercises when they occurred earlier this year is quite frankly unbelievable. And the Prime Minister, at least he stuck firm to the Port of Darwin situation, but this is not right. You don't treat your largest trading partner like this, and I appreciate that China and Australia do have a great relationship as far as trade is concerned. Our 26% of our trade is through the CHAFTA, a trade arrangement that was set up by the coalition, organised through the coalition and signed in 2015 under the coalition, worth $325 billion of two-way trade a year. And this is important for China too. And so you don't treat friends like this, and the Prime Minister should have been a lot stronger on this.
Well, on the Port of Darwin, we heard the Prime Minister asked about that a short time ago ahead of walking the Great Wall. He was asked whether he's concerned we could be put in the diplomatic freeze over our desire to end Chinese ownership of that site. Is this a risk Australia must take?
Well, the port should be in Australian hands. And whilst I appreciate at the time, the military saw no qualms with the Chinese leasing arrangements. The situation has changed in recent times and in recent years. And the Port of Darwin is too important, too strategic, not to be in Australian hands, whether leased or owned. And that should be the bottom line.
On Australian writer Yang Hengjun and the detention of him, do you think the Prime Minister should have pushed a little bit harder in discussions with the Chinese president?
Well, he raised the issue, and commendation for him for doing that. These situations are very, very difficult, and we appreciate that. But at least he raised it, and that's a good starting point. And we should continue those negotiations in a very firm and robust way.
Let's get to domestic matters. I want to get your thoughts on the RBA debating whether to remove card surcharges for payments from July 2026. We know it could save Aussies a lot of money, but could have an adverse impact on businesses. How's the idea being received in your electorate?
Well, I did hear a woman who was at a coffee shop, what looked to be in your program there earlier, who said, well, it depends on your financial circumstances. Well, it doesn't matter how wealthy or not you are. Nobody likes having to pay a credit or debit card surcharge. And just consider this. The Commonwealth Bank in the last financial year, their profit was $10.2 billion. NAB, 7.7, ANZ, 7.4, Westpac, more than 7. Here's a thought. Why don't they pay it? I mean, they could pay $250 million each, and they could absorb that into their profits. And wouldn't that be a good thing? I think they can afford it. I just do. And so the RBA, they've gone down this path. I think that'd be welcomed by a lot of people. People hate paying that credit card surcharge every time they get a cup of coffee, every time they pay their insurance. It doesn't matter what it is they're paying. They're paying through the nose, and it should be absolutely absorbed by the banks. I think they're wealthy enough to pay that fee, to pay that $1.2 billion or thereabouts, and it won't really worry them all that much, Julia.
If that doesn't happen, are you worried businesses could put up prices as a result?
Well, they have to. They have to. And the trouble is with some businesses, they can't. They just have to absorb prices. It's like farms. They're farmers. They are price takers. They're not price makers. And the same with little coffee shops. They can only charge so much for a cappuccino. And so many of these small businesses are already struggling. The instant asset write-off is not as good as what it was under the coalition. We see that tens of thousands of businesses have gone to the wall under this Labor government. It's so tough for businesses out there at the moment, and they're not being helped by the government. And if this is just another situation where they're going to have to wear more costs, a lot more businesses will be going to the wall, Julia.
Head of Parliament returning next week. We've got the chair of the Australian Climate and Biodiversity Foundation, former Treasury Secretary Ken Henry, addressing the press club. He says speeding up environmental reforms more important in his eyes than tax reform. What is going to be your position on the reform of environmental laws?
Well, the coalition would look at anything that's put on the table, but what we can't do is load up farmers and businesses with green tape. They've already got enough bureaucratic tape. They don't need any more. And what we do need to make sure is that we don't have a situation, whereas they've got in Victoria at the moment, if there's no more wind, offshore wind towers, they say that they're going to have to cover 70% of Victoria's state with solar and wind to compensate for no offshore wind towers. I mean, this is just ridiculous. So I've got a situation in my electorate at Bowning, Bynalong, Crookwell, Maxwell, Gregadoo, The Rock, where they're trying to put in solar factories and wind turbines, and it's just riding roughshod over community interests. There's state priorities, state significant development processes that don't give local government or local community concerns any say whatsoever. This is a nonsense, and that should be addressed. And so if we're going to address the issue with environmental laws, we need to cut through some of that green tape and make it easier for people to do business, easier for people. That should be number one on Jim Chalmers' productivity list. Absolutely it should.
One of many issues to be discussed when Parliament returns next week. Michael McCormack, thank you so much for your time.
Anytime at all, Julia. Thank you.